Isabella Martinez pressed her small hands against the transparent alloy of the observation deck's window, her dark eyes reflecting the shimmer of passing starships. At 8 years old, she had already memorized the engine configurations of 17 different alien vessel types, much to her father's amused pride. The massive Imperial station Nexus 7 had been her home for the past 3 years, ever since Dr. Carlos Martinez had accepted the position as Earth's lead cultural exchange officer. "Look, Papa," a Centaurian light cruiser. She bounced on her toes, pointing at a sleek vessel gliding past their window. Her robotic companion, Nova, chirped in agreement, its silver-plated chassis reflecting the starlight as it hovered beside her shoulder. The small drone had been a gift from her mother before they left Earth, programmed to keep Isabella company in the sometimes lonely expanses of space. Dr. Martinez smiled, checking his datapad as he walked over to join her. "Very good, mi pequeña científica. And what gave it away this time?" "The way its quantum drive pulses blue-green instead of just blue," Isabella replied without hesitation. "And see how the hull curves at the back. That's to accommodate their specialty atmospheric shielding." She beamed with pride at her father's approving nod. The observation deck buzzed with unusual activity today. Imperial dignitaries in their flowing robes of state swept past, their crystalline translators catching the light. The Emperor's centennial celebration would begin in just a few hours, marking 100 years of his reign over the greatest civilization in known space. "Remember, Isabella," Carlos said gently, kneeling beside his daughter, "today we need to be extra careful. There will be many important people here, and they have different customs than we do." Isabella nodded solemnly. "I know, Papa. No running, no loud noises, and always keep Nova in companion mode." She patted the drone affectionately, and it trilled a happy response. "That's my girl." He checked his datapad again. "I need to attend a brief meeting before the ceremony. Would you like to go to the Children's Center, or would you prefer to stay here with Nova?" "Can I stay? Please. The Thylaxian ships will be arriving soon, and they always have the prettiest light patterns." Isabella's eyes sparkled with excitement. Carlos hesitated. The observation deck was well monitored, and Nova's safety protocols were top of the line. "All right, but remember, stay in the marked public areas, I promise." Isabella finished for him, already turning back to the window in anticipation. He smiled, pressing a kiss to the top of her head. "I'll be back in 20 minutes. Te quiero, mi amor." "Te quiero, Papa." The next 17 minutes passed peacefully. Isabella watched the ships with Nova, quietly naming each class and species of origin. Then something caught Nova's sensors, a shimmer of light unlike anything Isabella had seen before. The drone chirped inquisitively as a new vessel approached, its hull seeming to bend the very starlight around it. "What kind of ship is that?" Isabella whispered, enchanted. She took a step closer to the window, then another. Nova beeped a warning. They were nearing the edge of the public viewing area, but Isabella barely heard it, transfixed by the mysterious ship's approach. One more step. She didn't notice when she crossed the faintly glowing line on the floor. Didn't see the warning symbols that activated. Didn't understand why Nova suddenly began emitting a high-pitched alarm. The Imperial Guard's reaction was instantaneous. There were no questions, no warnings. Their protocol for security breaches during high-level Imperial events was absolute, developed over millennia of maintaining order across 100,000 worlds. Dr. Carlos Martinez emerged from his meeting 17 seconds early, a slight smile on his face as he thought of surprising Isabella. He rounded the corner just in time to see the flash of an Imperial weapon, to watch his daughter fall, to hear Nova's cheerful operational tune shift to a mournful keen. The observation deck fell silent except for the soft thud of a child's body hitting the polished floor and the continuing gentle hum of distant starships passing by, indifferent to the moment when humanity's place in the galaxy changed forever. Dr. Mai Wang stood at the podium in the United Nations General Assembly, her crisp blue diplomatic uniform a stark contrast against the warm wood paneling behind her. The chamber hummed with the usual background noise of 500 delegates from Earth's nations discussing humanity's latest achievements in galactic integration. The Cultural Exchange Initiative has shown promising results, she was saying, her voice steady and measured. Our adaptation to imperial diplomatic protocols has improved by 73% in the last quarter alone. The small light on her datapad began pulsing red. Her assistant, Thomas Chen, no relation, was approaching the stage with uncharacteristic haste, his face ashen. In 18 years of diplomatic service, Mai had never seen him break protocol by interrupting a formal address. The chamber's background noise faded as delegates noticed the disruption. Thomas reached the podium, handed her a secured datapad, and whispered 3 words that made her blood run cold. "It's about Isabella." Mei's hands didn't shake as she accepted the pad. They didn't shake as she read the report. They didn't shake as she looked up at the assembled representatives of humanity. 1 hour ago, she began, her voice carrying in the now silent chamber. An 8-year-old human child, Isabella Martinez, was executed by Imperial guards on Station Nexus 7 for accidentally crossing a restricted line during celebration preparations. The silence deepened. In the back of the chamber, someone dropped a glass. The sound of it shattering echoed like a gunshot. The Imperial Diplomatic Corps has issued their standard response for security protocol violations. Mai continued, her tone professionally neutral. They consider the matter closed and remind us that all species are subject to imperial security measures equally. Ambassador Kiran Petal from India stood slowly. "They killed a child," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "A little girl who crossed a line." "The Empire's position," Mai responded, "is that age is not a consideration in matters of imperial security." The Chinese ambassador, Liu Wei, rose next. "And what of the father?" "Dr. Carlos Martinez is being held in protective custody to prevent, quote, any emotional reactions that might disrupt the centennial celebration." One by one, the delegates began to stand. There were no shouts, no calls for immediate action, no dramatic declarations. Just the soft rustle of 500 people rising to their feet in complete silence. The Russian ambassador, Elena Petrova, pressed a button on her console. "I am receiving confirmation from Moscow. All Russian citizens in imperial space are being quietly relocated to human-controlled stations." Similar announcements began flowing in from other nations: China, Brazil, Nigeria, India, the United Kingdom. Each message was delivered in the same calm, measured tones. In the imperial diplomatic box, the alien representatives shifted uncomfortably. They were used to emotional outbursts from humans, to loud proclamations, and theatrical displays of feeling. This silence was unexpected. Ambassador Wang looked down at her datapad one final time. "I have just received word that the Security Council has convened an emergency session. They have voted. The decision was unanimous." She raised her eyes to the imperial box. "Humanity hereby declares a state of total war against the Galactic Imperial Empire." The imperial representatives exchanged glances. The senior among them, a towering Vexillion with iridescent scales, stepped forward. "Surely you understand the futility of such a declaration. The Empire spans 40% of the known galaxy. Your species has barely mastered faster than light travel." "We understand precisely what we are doing," Mai replied, her voice still perfectly controlled. "You, however, do not understand what you have done." She turned to the assembled human delegates. No orders needed to be given, no dramatic speeches made. As one, humanity's representatives began filing out of the chamber, leaving their imperial counterparts standing in confused silence. In the empty chamber, the imperial representatives waited for threats, for demands, for emotional displays of human vengeance. None came. They didn't understand that they had just witnessed something unprecedented in galactic history. The moment when humanity stopped acting like separate nations and became a single focused force. They didn't understand that silence, from humans, was the most dangerous sound in the universe. They would learn. Yuki Tanaka sat in her darkened office at Earth's Special Operations Command, her fingers hovering over the quantum-encrypted terminal. On the screens surrounding her, 50 red dots pulsed steadily across a galactic map. Each represented a human operative embedded deep within Imperial infrastructure, waiting for her signal. "Begin Protocol Nightfall." She spoke softly into her comm unit. "Authorization code, Cherry Blossom Dawn." Her second-in-command, Miguel Santos, appeared on the main screen. "Ma'am, are you certain? Once we activate our sleeper agents, there's no going back." Yuki's dark eyes reflected the glow of the terminal. "They killed a child, Miguel. A little girl whose only crime was chasing her dreams among the stars." She pressed her palm against the biometric scanner. "Execute the protocol." Across Imperial space, humans began disappearing from their posts. Not dramatically, not all at once, but in a carefully choreographed sequence that had been planned for years. The Empire hardly noticed at first. Humans were, after all, a minor species, barely worth tracking. On Nueva Madrid Station, environmental engineer Lin Chen left her post for a routine maintenance check. She didn't return. 6 hours later, the station's atmospheric processors began experiencing unexplained fluctuations. In the Imperial Core archives, data analyst James Patel logged out of his terminal for his lunch break. By the time anyone noticed, he was missing. Subtle alterations to thousands of Imperial shipping manifests had already taken effect. Dr. Rosa Mendoza, specialist in Imperial quantum communications on Centauride Prime, simply went home early, citing a mild headache. Within 12 hours, the entire sector's quantum relay network would begin experiencing mysterious delays and corruptions. "First wave completed," Miguel reported, updating the tactical display. Green lights began replacing the red dots, indicating successful extractions. "All primary agents have cleared their assigned sectors." Yuki nodded, watching as the carefully planned chaos began to unfold. Status of Operation Firefly. Dr. Lakshmi Patel reports success. The virus she planted in the Imperial Navy's navigational mainframe is dormant but ready. At your command, it will introduce subtle errors into their FTL calculations. The corner of Yuki's mouth twitched upward slightly. The Empire prided itself on its technological superiority, never imagining that their most secure systems had been compromised years ago by the very species they considered primitive. "Signal from Agent Kim on Silaxian Prime," Miguel continued. "She's successfully accessed their planetary defense grid. Backdoors are in place and undetected." A soft chime indicated an incoming priority message. Admiral Helena Rodriguez's hologram appeared beside Yuki's desk. "Special Operations Command, please confirm. Are your teams responsible for the reactor fluctuations we're detecting across Imperial space?" "Affirmative, Admiral," Yuki replied. "Phase 1 of Protocol Nightfall is proceeding as planned. We're creating systematic instability without triggering their emergency protocols." Helena's hologram nodded grimly. "The Imperial High Command just issued a statement claiming these are normal technical difficulties. They haven't connected the incidents yet." "They won't," Yuki assured her. "The Empire's greatest weakness is their absolute confidence in their superiority. They'll look for mechanical failures, solar flare activity, anything but coordinated human sabotage." On the tactical display, more green lights winked into existence as agents reported successful operations. Power grids began experiencing inexplicable surges. Navigation buoys started broadcasting slightly incorrect coordinates. Supply chain management systems developed subtle but cumulative errors. "Ma'am," Miguel interrupted, "we're detecting Imperial military communications. They're mobilizing maintenance crews to address the malfunctions." Yuki allowed herself a small smile. "Exactly as predicted. They'll waste crucial time and resources chasing phantom technical issues while we proceed with Phase 2. She turned to face Admiral Rodriguez's hologram. Please inform the Security Council that Special Operations is ready to begin targeting their military infrastructure directly." As she watched the Empire's carefully ordered systems begin to fray at the edges, Yuki thought of Isabella Martinez, of a child's dreams cut short by imperial arrogance, of a father's grief transformed into humanity's resolute purpose. "They thought we were primitive," she murmured, initiating the encryption sequence for Phase 2. "They're about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology or our ships." She pressed the final authorization key. "It's our ability to become invisible until the perfect moment to strike." Across Imperial space, in the shadows between stars, humanity's vengeance began its silent work. Dr. Sofia Rodriguez stood before the holographic display in Earth's Advanced Warfare Division, her eyes reflecting the shimmer of quantum calculations spinning in the air around her. The facility, buried deep beneath the Andes Mountains, had become humanity's foremost research center for reverse engineering Imperial technology. "Show me the shield penetration test results," she commanded, her voice steady despite having worked for 36 hours straight. The hologram shifted, displaying the aftermath of their latest weapons test. Dr. Maya Chen, head of quantum physics, manipulated the display with practiced gestures. The modified photon lens penetrated Imperial shields at 37% power. "We finally cracked their resonance frequency." Sophia nodded, her mind already racing ahead to the next challenge. "And the stealth system?" "Ready for demonstration," called out Dr. Raj Patel from his workstation. He pulled up another hologram, showing a small scout ship hovering in Earth's orbit. "Watch this." The ship seemed to bend the very light around it before disappearing completely. Not just from visual sensors, but from every detection system they had. Sophia allowed herself a small smile. 3 months ago, this technology had been theoretical. Now it was reality. "They thought we were primitive," she murmured, thinking of the Imperial report that had dismissed Earth's technology as quaintly simplistic. "They never understood that humans don't just copy technology. We improve it." The main door slid open, admitting Admiral Lunapatel. "Dr. Rodriguez, I hear you have something to show me." Sophia gestured to the assembled team. "Several somethings, actually." "Maya, begin the presentation." The room darkened as Maya brought up a complex series of schematics. "We've developed what we call the Ghostmaker system. It doesn't just hide our ships, it makes them appear to be somewhere else entirely." "Excellent work," Luna nodded. "What about the communication problem?" Dr. Kim Jin-soo stepped forward, his hands dancing through the holographic interface. "Solved. We've developed quantum entanglement communicators that piggyback on the Empire's own relay network. They can't detect our signals because they're hidden within their own transmission noise." Sophia watched the Admiral's expression carefully. "But that's not why I called you here. Show her Project Safeguard, please." The hologram shifted again, displaying a network of satellites orbiting a populated world. "We've developed a planetary defense system that can be deployed in under 6 hours," Sophia explained. "It doesn't just protect human worlds, it can shield any civilian population, including Imperial citizens." Luna's eyebrows rose. "You're developing technology to protect Imperial civilians." "We're not them," Sophia said firmly. "We won't sacrifice innocent lives for tactical advantage. Isabella Martinez died because their system doesn't value individual lives. We'll show them a better way." The Admiral studied the schematics carefully. "How soon can this be deployed?" "The first units are ready now. We've already sent the plans to our hidden manufacturing facilities in the Outer Rim." Sophia brought up another display showing production schedules. "Within 2 weeks, we can protect every major civilian center in contested space." "The Empire won't expect this," Luna mused. "They'll be waiting for us to target their populations, just as they would do." "That's their weakness," Maya added. "They can't imagine fighting a war while trying to protect everyone. They don't understand that compassion can be a weapon too." Sophia turned to face her team, these brilliant minds who had worked tirelessly since the day they lost Isabella. Humanity's strength isn't just in our ability to fight, she declared. It's in our ability to protect, to value every life, even our enemies. She gestured to the final hologram, showing their complete defense network. The Empire thinks this war will be won with superior firepower. They're wrong. It will be won with superior humanity. Admiral Luna smiled grimly. How fitting that their greatest defeat will come not from our hatred, but from our compassion. She straightened her uniform. You have authorization to deploy everything. Show the galaxy what humanity really stands for. As her team rushed to implement their projects, Sophia glanced at the small holo picture on her desk. Isabella Martinez, smiling at her father's graduation ceremony. We'll build a better galaxy, she whispered. One where no child ever dies for crossing a line. That's a victory worth fighting for. Ming-Na Chen stood in the heart of Operation Stardancer's command center, surrounded by walls of flowing data streams. Each stream represented a different communication channel flowing through Imperial space, carrying whispers of truth through the Empire's carefully controlled information network. Show me the impact analysis of the Rigel sector broadcasts, she requested, her fingers dancing through holographic data points. Her chief analyst, Lucia Ramirez, brought up a detailed social response map. The effects are spreading faster than predicted, Lucia reported, highlighting clusters of growing unrest. Especially among the Centaurian populations, the evidence of imperial corruption in their sector's resource allocation has sparked widespread demands for investigation. Ming-Na nodded, studying the patterns of information flow and the imperial response. Exactly as your psychological model predicted, Lucia smiled. They're attempting to suppress the information, which is only making more people seek it out. The Streisand effect, just as you said. The central display shifted to show a new data stream. Dr. Jasmine Patel, their xenolinguistics expert, stepped forward. The translation algorithms are working perfectly. Every species in the Empire is receiving our broadcasts in their most emotionally resonant dialects. Even the subtext and cultural references are being properly adapted. Ming-Na watched as clips from their latest broadcast played across multiple screens. The images were simple but powerful. Imperial resource ships being diverted from struggling colonies to luxury resorts for the elite. Security forces accepting bribes to overlook safety violations. Ancient artworks from subjugated cultures locked away in private imperial vaults. What about the Isabella Protocol? Ming-Na asked quietly. Lucia brought up a new set of data streams. We've been very careful with that one, just as you insisted. No exploitation, no dramatic recreations, just the simple facts. A child, a line on the floor, and an empire that saw no difference between a curious 8-year-old and a security threat. The room fell silent for a moment. They all knew that Isabella Martinez had become more than just a victim. She had become a symbol of everything wrong with imperial rule. New data coming in from the Outer Rim, Jasmine announced. The Tylaxians are publicly questioning the Empire's definition of security protocols. They're demanding to know how many other children have died due to zero-tolerance policies. Ming-Na allowed herself a small smile. The Tylaxians, with their deep cultural emphasis on protecting the young, had been particularly affected by Isabella's story. And the other species. The Centaurians are reviewing 3 centuries of imperial judicial records, Lucia reported. The Vega Collective is demanding representation in security policy decisions. Even the Proxima Federation, traditionally the Empire's strongest supporters, are expressing concerns. Phase 2 implementation is ready, Jasmine added. We've compiled evidence of Imperial First Contact protocols that led to the unnecessary deaths of thousands of emerging species representatives. The Empire's Shoot First policy goes far beyond one human child. Ming-Na nodded, her expression determined. Release it all. Every record, every incident, every covered-up tragedy. Let the galaxy see the true cost of imperial order. What about their counter-propaganda? Lucia asked. They're trying to paint us as terrorists, claiming we're destabilizing galactic peace. "Let them," Ming-Na replied. "Every time they deny an atrocity, we'll show proof. Every time they claim peace, we'll reveal the violence that maintains it. Truth is our weapon, and they have no defense against it." She turned to face her team, these brilliant minds who had learned to turn information into liberation. The Empire built its power on controlled information and enforced ignorance. They never understood that knowledge, once released, can't be contained. Every species has its own Isabella Martinez story. We're just helping them find it. The screens around them pulsed with new data as their broadcasts reached deeper into Imperial space. Reports of peaceful protests, of species demanding accountability, of Imperial citizens beginning to question centuries of unquestioned authority. "They thought they could silence us with force," Ming-Na said softly, watching the spread of awakening consciousness across the galaxy. "They never understood that the most powerful revolutions begin not with weapons, but with whispers, with questions, with truth." She touched the small hologram of Isabella Martinez that hung around her neck like a pendant. "Your story will change the galaxy, little one. Not through violence, but through understanding. That's a power the Empire never saw coming." Admiral Luna Patel stood on the bridge of the Earth flagship Starweaver, watching as her unconventional battle fleet moved into position. Unlike the rigid formations favored by Imperial commanders, her ships danced through space in seemingly random patterns, each movement precisely calculated to confuse enemy targeting systems. "Civilian transport detected in the combat zone," reported her tactical officer, Maya Santos. "Imperial registry, 2,000 passengers, mostly Centaurian refugees." Luna's dark eyes narrowed. "Current position relative to the Imperial battle line." "Directly between us and their heavy cruisers, Admiral. The Empire is using them as a shield." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew the Imperial commanders expected humanity to either retreat or sacrifice the civilians to achieve their military objective. Either response would serve Imperial propaganda. "Launch rescue pods," Luna ordered without hesitation. "All ships, execute pattern firefly." Her fleet responded instantly, breaking their attack formation to create a protective screen around the civilian transport. Imperial gunners, trained to target military formations, found their targeting computers struggling to predict the seemingly chaotic movements of Earth's ships. "Admiral," Maya called out, "Imperial Command is broadcasting. They say we're violating standard combat protocols." Luna allowed herself a small smile. Standard protocol would be to sacrifice civilians for tactical advantage. "Send them our response. Humanity doesn't follow Imperial protocols." The Starweaver shuddered as it absorbed fire meant for the civilian ship. On the tactical display, Luna watched as her fleet executed the rescue maneuver they'd practiced countless times. While half her ships maintained the protective screen, the others launched specially designed rescue pods. "First wave of evacuees secured," reported Commander Ravi Kapoor from Rescue Operations. "The Centaurians are confused. They expected to be casualties of war." "Let them be confused," Luna replied. "Actions speak louder than propaganda. Show them who we really are." The Imperial fleet, frustrated by humanity's refusal to either retreat or sacrifice the civilians, began adjusting their formation. Luna recognized the pattern. They were preparing for their favorite overwhelming force tactic. "All ships, prepare for lightning strike protocol," she commanded. Her crew responded with practiced precision, their movements honed by months of preparation. The Imperial commander's voice crackled over the command channel. "Your position is tactically unsound. You waste resources protecting enemy civilians while exposing your flanks. Surrender now and spare your crews." Luna activated the response channel. "You still don't understand, do you? We're not here to conquer. We're here to protect. Every life, every species, every innocent caught in your web of power. That's what makes us different." She turned to her tactical officer. "Status of civilian evacuation. 80% complete, Admiral. The Imperial fleet is moving to block our escape vectors." "Perfect." Luna's fingers danced across her command console. All ships, execute lightning strike. Show them what humanity's tactically unsound position can do. Her fleet moved as one, their seemingly defensive positions transforming into a complex attack pattern. Ships that had appeared to be randomly placed suddenly revealed their true purpose, their positions creating a web of crossfire that caught the Imperial fleet from 12 different angles. Target their weapons and engines only, Luna ordered. Disable, don't destroy. Let's show the galaxy another way to win a war. The battle that followed would be studied in military academies for centuries. Human ships, supposedly caught in a defensive posture around civilians, turned their protective formation into a devastating attack that disabled half the Imperial fleet without a single ship destroyed. As the last civilian shuttle docked safely with the Starweaver, Luna opened a channel to the surviving Imperial ships. Your weapons are disabled, your engines are offline, but your life support is untouched. We'll provide emergency evacuation for any crew who need it. She looked out at the stars, thinking of a little girl who died because an empire valued protocol over life. Remember this day, she continued. Remember how humanity fights, not for glory, not for power, but for something you've forgotten. The value of every single life. The Imperial commander's response was barely a whisper. What? What are you? We're human, Luna replied simply. And we're showing the galaxy a better way to wage war. One rescue at a time. Diana Kim adjusted her translator as she stepped into the Grand Assembly Hall of the Centaurian High Council. Once, this chamber had been reserved exclusively for Imperial proclamations. Now, representatives from 30 different species filled the tiered seats, their voices a symphony of different languages united by a common purpose. The evidence is undeniable, she began, her words automatically translating into each species' native tongue. For 10,000 years, the Empire has claimed to maintain order through strength. Today, we show you what that order truly costs. The holographic display behind her activated, showing scenes from across the galaxy. Imperial peacekeeping operations that had destroyed entire communities. Cultural treasures erased because they didn't fit Imperial standards. And most recently, security protocols that valued blind obedience over innocent life. You all know about Isabella Martins now, Diana continued, her voice steady despite the emotion in her heart. But she wasn't the first child to die for Imperial order. She was simply the one that made humanity say, enough. The chamber stirred as she brought up new data streams. In the Proxima sector alone, 17 children of various species have died in similar incidents over the past century. The Empire classified these deaths as necessary security measures. A Xylaxian elder rose, their crystalline form catching the light. Why did we not know of this before? Because the Empire understands that knowledge is power, Diana replied. Each incident was isolated, classified, hidden from other species. They knew that if we ever united, if we ever saw the full pattern of their actions, their control would shatter. She gestured to her human colleagues stationed around the chamber. These former teachers, diplomats, and cultural experts had spent months building trust with different species, sharing not just information but understanding. Look at what humanity has done in this war, she continued. Not just our military victories, but our choices. We protected your civilians even at tactical cost. We disabled rather than destroyed. We shared technology to defend your worlds. The display shifted to show the newly installed planetary defense systems, a gift from Earth to any world that wanted protection. We're not fighting to replace the Empire's control with our own. We're fighting to show that there's a better way. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Species that had been enemies for millennia found themselves nodding in unison. The Empire calls this sedition, Diana acknowledged. They say we're disrupting 10,000 years of peace and order. But ask yourselves, what kind of peace requires the death of children? What kind of order demands the sacrifice of innocence? A Centaurian representative stood, her jeweled carapace gleaming. Yesterday, our colony worlds declared independence from Imperial control. The Empire threatened retaliation, but when their warships arrived, human vessels were already there, protecting our people. The Vega Collective stands with Earth, another voice called out. They showed us how to shield our worlds without becoming aggressors. One by one, representatives rose to declare their positions. Species that had once competed for imperial favor now united in purpose. The Empire's greatest nightmare was becoming reality. Their subjects were learning to work together. Diana watched as centuries of carefully maintained divisions crumbled. Her hand touched the small holo pendant she wore, a gift from Carlos Martinez, containing a picture of Isabella. "This is your moment," she told the assembled representatives. Not just to break free from imperial control, but to build something better. The holographic display showed a final image, the proposed charter for a new galactic federation, based on principles of mutual protection and respect. "Humanity doesn't want to rule," Diana declared. "We want to help build a galaxy where no child of any species ever dies for crossing a line, where strength serves compassion, not control." As she looked out at the chamber, Diana saw what the Empire had always feared, species learning from humanity's example, choosing protection over power, unity over dominance. The Empire's perfect order was breaking, not through force of arms, but through the power of a better way. "Isabella showed us the cost of their system," she concluded softly. "Now we show them the power of our humanity." Dr. Carlos Martinez knelt in the memorial garden, carefully tending to a patch of earth roses that bloomed alongside Centaurian crystal flowers and Dilaxian luminous vines. 1 year had passed since he lost Isabella, and the galaxy had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The garden occupied the heart of the new Galactic Federation headquarters, its transparent dome offering a view of Earth rising over the lunar horizon. At its center stood a simple holographic statue, a little girl chasing her robotic companion, frozen in eternal joy. "The Proximan delegation has arrived," announced Ming-Na Chen softly, approaching from the garden's entrance. They'd brought seeds from their sacred forests to add to the garden. Carlos nodded, gently touching a rose petal. Isabella would have loved that. She always wanted to see their rainbow trees. Above them, ships from 100 worlds moved in elegant patterns, their designs reflecting a new era of shared technology and cooperation. Human innovation had merged with alien aesthetics, creating vessels that were both beautiful and protective. "The last Imperial holdouts surrendered this morning," Ming-Na reported. "They couldn't understand why their subject species chose our protection over their power." "They never understood a lot of things," Carlos replied, standing slowly. He brushed soil from his hands. Real Earth soil, now enriched with minerals from a dozen worlds to support plants from across the galaxy. "They never understood that true strength comes from lifting others up, not holding them down." A small group of alien children entered the garden, accompanied by their teacher. Carlos watched as they approached the hologram of Isabella, their diverse forms reflecting the new unity that had emerged from tragedy. The teacher, Diana Kim, gathered them in a circle. "This is why we have the protection protocols," she explained to her students. "Every child, every life, is precious. We don't draw lines between species anymore. We draw circles around all of them, keeping everyone safe." One of the children, a young Xilaxian, raised a crystalline appendage. "Is it true that humans went to war for just one child?" "We went to war," Carlos said, stepping forward, "because every child deserves to chase their dreams among the stars without fear." He smiled gently at the gathered students. "Isabella's death showed us what needed to change. But it's your lives that show us what we're building together." Admiral Luna Patel and Dr. Sofia Rodriguez entered the garden, their uniforms bearing the new Federation insignia, a silver star cradled in protective hands of all species. "The new defense network is complete," Sofia reported. "Every world in Federation space now has both shield protection and emergency response beacons. No one will ever be alone or unprotected again." Luna nodded, watching the children explore the garden. The Imperial military academies are being converted into humanitarian response centers. Their cadets are learning rescue operations instead of conquest tactics. They're calling it the Isabella Initiative. Carlos touched the small robot companion that hovered near Isabella's hologram. They'd found Nova after it happened. Now the little drone helped guide visitors through the garden. Its cheerful beeps a reminder of innocent joy. Medical research from the Centaurians, agricultural advances from the Vega Collective, artistic innovations from the Proxima Federation. Mainne listed, looking at the various additions to the garden. Everyone contributes what they do best. Humanity's gift was showing that strength and compassion aren't opposites. They're most powerful when combined. As the sun set over lunar horizon, the garden's bioluminescent plants began to glow, creating a gentle rainbow of colors. The children gasped in delight, their joy echoing through the dome. Isabella loved rainbows, Carlos said softly. She used to say they were proof that different colors could make something beautiful together. Diana gathered her students, each from a different world, but all moving as one family. That's her real legacy, she said. Not the war, not the fall of an empire, but this, a galaxy where children of all species play together in a garden of shared dreams. Carlos looked up at the stars, not cold and distant anymore, but filled with lights of friendship and protection. Somewhere out there, every night, someone's child was safely chasing their dreams among those stars. Sweet dreams, mi ángel, he whispered. Your story helped build a better galaxy, and we'll keep making it better, one child, one world, one dream at a time.